Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Skyliners and Sky Watchers. Welcome to the Vash Sky ParkCast. My name is Vash Sky, and I'm going to be your host of today's illustrious ceremonies, going over theme park content all over the world right there. At least we hope so, anyway. Certainly going to be talking about Orlando, certainly going to be talking about Disneyland, indeed. Should be a lot of fun right there. It's going to be awesome. Well, actually, I said Disneyland and Orlando. That's very, very interesting. California. In Orlando, because we're going to be talking about some Universal Studios Hollywood as well. We're hoping to get Theme Park Wizard on the show right there. He wasn't able to join us yesterday, but don't worry, it looks like he can join us today. Or at least we'll keep our fingers crossed. But don't worry, it should be a fun show regardless right there. We have some excellent people in our chat right now, chatting it up right there, including O2RR. Hello indeed. TJ McDuffie, also known as Tom F. Welcome to the program. And, well, he's got an amazing welcome right there because he provides that amazing soundtrack, that music that you hear in the intro right there. Ooh, gets me so pumped every single time I hear it. That is awesome. Erica in here as well. The Real Ventures, thank you so much. And, of course, Juliet, who was very, very gracious enough to give us £2 sterling right here. Evening, Vash Sky ParkCast, Skyliners, and Sky Watchers. Thank you so much, Juliet. Very much appreciate that. That is awesome. Very, very cool indeed. Hello, Vash, right there from Mission Impossible. Hello there indeed. Awesome stuff. Yes. All right, I believe that just about gets our initial chats right there. You know, it really is something to look at this theme park industry right here and monitor how it is changing. It seems to be changing all the time. And that, of course, includes your way to ride your favorite rides, whether it's Fast Pass, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, Express Pass, whatever. It seems like there's always modification in that space. And, well, it looks like now is no different. Now that, I guess, the Wall Street Journal woke up to the fact that, well, there was a symposium back in February of this year involving Thomas Muslim, who was then the Disneyland president at that point, before becoming, obviously, the chairman of experiences. And he had a media symposium right there, in which he had or maybe a media summit is more of the accurate word. It was for the Disney California Adventure 25th anniversary right there. Anyway, he had this media summit, invited all the press out, and said, hey, we've made some mistakes, and we are going to be modifying our procedures, the way we actually handle guests. That was the famous one, actually, where Disneyland announced that its own park hopping restriction, that 11 a.m. time restriction, was actually going away. And during that, he actually did talk about the friction points associated with, specifically, Lightning Lane. Well, now, what's old is new again, apparently, because Ben Fritz decided to write an article in the Wall Street Journal talking about this and more associated with the frustrations of Lightning Lane. So, it would appear that Disney is aware, and maybe they're doing something about it. Let's go ahead and see what we can glean from this article from Walt Disney World News today. Disneyland guests feel managing Lightning Lanes is a distraction from vacation. This by Shannon Ace, July 20th, 2026. Disney guests in charge of managing Lightning Lane reservations aren't enjoying themselves as much as their families, suggests a Wall Street Journal report. Ben Fritz spoke to various guests at Disneyland as they juggled their phones and families, trying to create the best day ever. He encountered guests with strollers and young children who were trying to navigate the Disneyland app while also navigating crowds. Quote, I feel like it's a distraction, said Catherine Garcia, as she tried to book a Lightning Lane with her 4-year-old son at her side. Oh, that would be certainly frustrating. I'm watching him, and I've got to be on my phone, and I'm trying not to crash into people. That's no good. 21-year-old Evan Polk was the Lightning Lane manager for his group of 19 family members. 19! Goodness gracious. I will say, I have been that Lightning Lane manager before. It's not easy with a couple of people, much less 19. I mean, how do you even, juggle the bathroom visits? I mean, that's just kind of a crazy thing right there. In order to book passes for the whole group, he had to use 2 phones. Oh, I'm sure. Quote, I go here very often, and they do not, so I'm the one who has to set everything up, or at least try to, he said. Influencer Jessica Gardner told Fritz, quote, "The person tasked with making the Lightning Lane reservations for a group is going to have a very different day. You're not going to turn a corner and have that unexpected magical experience." Indeed, you're not. I mean, just think about having to navigate all of that, right? Having to navigate all that complexity on behalf of 19 people. That's, you're not going to have a fun time with that. There's no question. But even if it's just 4 people, right? Even if it's far more manageable, you end up, a lot of times, if you are that managing person with Lightning Lane, which you don't know what Lightning Lane is, of course it is your kind of express option for Disneyland or Walt Disney World attractions and so forth. So previously it was Fast Pass, that it was Genie Plus, and now it is known as Lightning Lane. Then there's Lightning Lane Single Pass, which only affects certain few attractions, mostly the latest and greatest. But then you have Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, which is kind of like Genie Plus or Fast Pass as it was before. Look, it gets complicated really fast, and that's just explaining it to people. Now, navigate this on a regular basis. And especially if you got young kids and so forth, that could be quite the task right there. So yeah, that unexpected magical experience, as Jessica Gardner is telling Fritz right here in this article, yeah, I just don't think that's part of the equation. There is no magic moment. There is no spontaneity. It's very controlled. It's very calculated. It's very scheduled, etc. Most people Fritz spoke to were using Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. Starting at $34 per person, this pass allows guests to book Lightning Lane access for multiple attractions, albeit with restrictions regarding when you can book and how many bookings that you can have at any given time. While Walt Disney World has introduced advanced Lightning Lane bookings, Disneyland still restricts bookings to the day of a visit. Before activating his own Lightning Lane pass, Fritz studied tutorials on YouTube and Reddit, noting experienced guests using various, quote, hacks like playing Disney slots or stacking. Quote, "It's important you think of this as a game," said YouTube Robert Daniel. Quote, "Because if you think of it as a scheduling tool, it's going to be the most frustrating scheduling tool that you ever used in your life." Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, if you're looking to like, oh, okay, let's go ahead and try to get that Space Mountain right after the visit to, I don't know, Cafe Orleans or maybe Columbia Harbor House, yeah, I don't think that's going to go. I don't think that's going to fly right there. You are basically attempting to get as many attractions and get as much value out of the product that you paid for as possible. And so a lot of times you'll end up getting what you can get, whether it's, you know, a few hours ahead, whether it's half a day ahead, etc. I mean, I've had it before where you look at Lightning Lane bookings and so forth, and maybe it's like 10 a.m. You look at the app, and a lot of your favorite attractions aren't available until 6, 7, 8, or maybe they're gone by that point right there. So certainly if you're trying to schedule things out, it might not work. But there is something you can do, which this article explains here. Quote, "Disney Slots refers to the technique of making a Lightning Lane reservation for any time, then modifying that reservation and refreshing the page over and over again until your preferred time appears. While you'll mostly see openings for later in the day, other guests canceling or modifying the reservations will lead to earlier times becoming available. But you have to be fast enough to select them." Oh, of course. Fritz utilized this technique after entering Disneyland and booking a 11:50 a.m. Lightning Lane for Space Mountain. That's actually the example I gave. Who knew? When he went to modify it, 12:25 p.m. was the next earliest option, but after refreshing nearly a dozen times, he secured a 9:25 a.m. time slot. Oh yes, please. And by the way, you try to do something like that with 19 guests, good luck. Okay? That is a no-go right there. There is no way in Shinola are you actually going to be able to do that. And again, this speaks to the level of complexity, right? And it's a system that you're opting to pay for, by the way. This is not something that, you know, is part of Fast Pass, as previously it was included with your ticket. You go up to the machine and you go. Nope, this is not that. This is a paid-for service. You opt in to this headache. Fantastic. Quote, with stacking, guests can make and modify Lightning Lane reservations until they have the maximum of 3, stacked one right after the other. Aaron Millen, I'm sorry, give me a second. Erin Millen and her 10-year-old daughter told Fritz about the strategy. They stacked 3 Lightning Lanes in the late afternoon, when standby lines are at their longest. In the morning, they enjoyed single rider lines, sitting separately on rides but enjoying them several times, which is good, right? You can get lucky with like Radius Springs Racers, for example, at Disney California Adventure, or maybe perhaps Indiana Jones Adventure, and be able to utilize those Lightning Lane services. Single rider services, and be really, really good. Now, I will say that doesn't always work. Like, for example, I've heard of operational changes actually affecting Expedition Everest, specifically right there, where they are trying to pair up single riders in pairs. But the problem with that, though, is that maybe cast members within that procedure don't actually get to every single Lightning Lane guest that's available to them. It's a whole big pain right there, and I'm hoping they actually improve the service, at least for those out there looking to go on Expedition Everest, because I've heard that the Lightning Lane is like way long. It's very, very difficult sometimes to get those to get on that attraction with any amount of expediency. Anywho's. Quote, we rode Indiana Jones twice. Hey, look at that. Indy gets a shout out. And Space Mountain 5 times, Millen explained. Yeah, Space Mountain actually adding Lightning Lane, and not too recently in its attraction's lifespan. Lightning Lane launched in 2021, replacing the free Fast Pass service, and continues to frustrate guests who want a more streamlined and cheaper vacation experience. Yeah, Lightning Lane did debut in 2021, technically, but it was also part of that Genie Plus service, as you'll know. In February, then, President Thomas Maslam said about the complexity of Lightning Lane, quote, this is something we are looking at as we consider ways to simplify the guest experience. Maslam has since been promoted to Disney Experiences chairman. And what do you think of Lightning Lane? And let us know. So, you heard that. Thomas Maslam in February, as we were talking about before during that media summit, they were looking into Lightning Lane. They were looking into simplifying the process and reducing that complexity, or reducing those friction points attached to the system. But I don't quite know how incentivized they are to change that. Now, I do know that internally in Disney, especially when it comes to food, beverage, and retail, they've had endless frustrations with Lightning Lane, actually going back years at this point that I know of. But it could have gone back even further. See, the problem that happens is when you do have somebody who was using the phone that much in order to manage all these Lightning Lane services and try to stack and slot and everything else, well, the problem is that it's something that you invested in, obviously. So there is incentivization from the guest standpoint in order to do all of that rigmarole to try to maximize their day and maximize their investment, right? But because of that, they're not really incentivized to engage with any other services, right? So food and beverage will have, hey, there's mobile ordering, there's mobile checkout, and there's all these range of options there. And guests are simply refusing to engage with them. Why? Because they're already engaging with Lightning Lane. And that whole rigmarole. They're already engaging with these express services to get them on board these rides. And that, I'm sure, includes DAS and other different services that guests may actually interface with. But that creates the problem, right? Because you're having to manage, maybe dining reservations or whatever, and then Lightning Lane on top of that. Who wants to necessarily pick up their phone again to mobile checkout at, the Emporium on Main Street? It doesn't sound like a great time to me, of course. And that's actually why food and beverage retail, they actually trimmed back on some of those offerings and modified them because they saw that the opt-in from a guest standpoint just wasn't there. At Walt Disney World, I believe they've quoted about 50% opt-in on any given day right there for Lightning Lane. So a lot of people are utilizing this system, but because they had to engage with that, they're not necessarily engaging with other services, even stores, shops, retail, etc. So I know, I understand fundamentally that Disney, when it comes to food, beverage, and retail, they don't like Lightning Lane. the guests don't like Lightning Lane, and so hopefully that's enough incentive for Disney themselves, the decision makers over there in the experiences unit, to modify that whole program, modify that whole system, and reduce those friction points, reduce that complexity. But I'm not sure. They might just be attached to that money, and anybody else who's collateral damage, including their own teams and units underneath that division, well, that's, I guess, going to be just collateral damage, I guess. Ooh, not good. Not fantastic right there. I'm hoping for a better system. Perhaps you could adjust the price points and so forth. Part of the problem right now is that it might be actually too cheap. And so when you have those 50% or greater buy-ins for a system like this, because it's so approachable, you have, so many people saturating the system. That means that there's, large backups actually that occur at those standby lines, especially when an attraction goes down. So think about it. If you've got a Lightning Lane, what is it, opt-in at those higher thresholds, well then, your e-ticket attractions, right, your big attractions like let's say Space Mountain, Indiana Jones, maybe Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, if you're looking at it from Walt Disney World's angle, etc. Those are going to have those hours of operation saturated with all those Lightning Lane services. So the problem is when those attractions go down for a few hours, well then those Lightning Lanes that would usually be, serviced within those operating hours can't be. That delays everybody out, and so people either crowd around the attraction after their time is up, but the attraction might be down, or they might come in at a later date, and so now you have to service that many Lightning Lanes at once, which slows down the standby line. Occasionally you'll actually hear this when you're actually standing in line for one of these attractions in which just came back up. You'll hear the announcement, hey, your standby wait might be a little bit longer than anticipated because we have to service these Lightning Lanes that are coming in, and, well, they've booked previously. It's very interesting about FastPass and its history. The description from the person who actually invented it considered that FastPass, that queue, that line, was the actual line, and the standbys actually fill in, which is very, very interesting right there if you think about it. But, yeah, Lightning Lane, FastPass is always going to take priority. And so when you have an attraction go down right there, it backs up everything. The hope would be if you had a lower opt-in, right? If you had a price threshold that people had to really consider in order to buy in, then perhaps that could take off that pressure. It could alleviate some of that pressure on an attraction that may have gone down. Or perhaps it would make a better system for everybody with a higher threshold of price entry. Both people opting for the service and people that don't, right? The standby, I think, would move a lot smoother and a lot faster if, in fact, you didn't have 50% of people that you were with in any day at Walt Disney World opting in for that system. It's kind of one of those things that if everybody's special, no one is. That's kind of the idea there, and it's really, really kind of interesting to ponder about that, because you look at Universal Studios, right? You look at Universal Express Pass, for example. That system does sell out, right? And it is at an elevated price point. Now, and they're very, very clever, at least in Orlando, by including that with those hotel stays in a lot of cases, which is very, very cool, at least for the higher priced options. Anyway, when it comes to Universal, though, they don't have a lot of the same issues connected with something like Lightning Lane. Now, they still get huge draws, especially at Epic Universe, Universal Studios Florida, Islands of Adventure, but the amount of frustration there just isn't present. Again, with the Express Pass, you don't have to reserve those opt-ins, those Lightning Lanes or Express lanes in advance. You just walk up and you can redeem it, right? And I understand Disney has, sort of that whole same system with the premium Lightning Lane services. I get that, but can there be a middle ground right there in which you have a higher level of service, a lower level of opt-in that works out for everybody and do away with this very approachable price point for Lightning Lane. That's something that I would kind of opt for. That's something that I would kind of champion right there. I understand it's not great for those of us who just want to go to the parks and not have to deal with any of this stuff. But if you really think about it, the standby works out a lot better under that same model or rubric as well. I want to go ahead and bring in my producer real fast so that we can go ahead and go over your comments on this, because I know it's a very touchy subject, it's a touchy issue. Obviously, people are visiting these parks and have to opt in for these services, and there's potentially what they actually do with Lightning Lane, Fast Pass, etc. right there might actually involve it might involve actually altering your decisions regarding your entire vacation. I know when Fast Pass was gone for a bit, there were a lot of people who said, I'm not going back to Walt Disney World until Lightning Lane, or I guess it was Fast Pass, is back in some form or fashion. So it's really, really interesting. Let's go ahead and get Disney Fan 55 on board. First day on the job right here. Disney Fan, are you there?
I'm here.
Fantastic. Who can we actually bring up here and highlight them in the chat and make sure that every single voice is heard?
Yes, well, we've got 21 Royale with cheese. Says, the bummer is that when you stack Lightning Lanes, you have to remember to use them all when it's time, or else you'll lose them.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I do believe that if you don't redeem that Lightning Lane, you technically have not lost it. So what I'm saying is, let's say you opt in for a Lightning Lane for like Big Thunder, for example, right? And let's say you just missed your window and that's it. You can still get a Lightning Lane for that attraction later, but it is kind of interesting that you say that you lose them, because in some ways you might, if in fact it's a high priority attraction right there, or an in-demand attraction, right? You might not be able to book another Lightning Lane for that attraction, even though you didn't redeem the first one, because they might simply not be available. So that's really, really kind of interesting. 21 Royale with cheese. Thank you so much for that very intriguing comment. Please, DFan55. What else we got?
Then we have BS123-Y.
Okay, that's true.
That's the next one. They want as many guests as possible buying into Lightning Lane. They just need to slightly raise the price, maybe $50 per guest, to include
Lightning Lane single pass and Lightning Lane
multipass into one Lightning Lane service. The differences are confusing, as if Genie wasn't confusing enough. Now we got Lightning Lane, single pass, multipass, multiple pass.
Yes, it is extremely confusing. This is partially why I was really against the rebranding of Lightning Lane. It's kind of like I'm sorry. Now I'm getting confused here. All right, the rebranding of Fast Pass into Lightning Lane. That's what I meant to say. Fast Pass was perfect. Fast Pass, nobody had Fast Pass. Everybody had like Flash Pass or something else, right? But everybody loved Fast Pass, that branding right there. They'd spent decades, building up that brand, building up that reputation that Fast Pass used to provide. And because of its all-inclusive nature, it really felt like a real value and felt separate from the cash-grabby nature of something like Six Flags, and maybe perhaps Universal at that time and otherwise. But unfortunately, they got rid of the Fast Pass branding, and then they brought out Lightning Lane. Now, I do believe they were trying to distinguish the products right there and just make everybody aware right from jump that it was not Fast Pass, that this was something entirely new, had an entirely new structure attached to it, and was a pay-for service, not something that was included with your ticket. That's besides the fact, though. Talking about this specific issue right here, Biz123, I do agree with you that
it's BS.
I'm
just joking.
This is BS123.
I don't know.
I do agree with you. I think that would work out better for just about everybody, and I understand. We've railed on Disney for aggressively increasing prices the way they have. However, I do think in this instance, like I was saying before, if everybody's special, no one is. That's the famous Incredibles line right there. I will say that I think there is benefit, tangible benefit, for the people actually paying for that service to have less people on it, and for the people who have to wait for those people to actually get on board their rides right there in that standby queue. I think it's better for just about everybody. It's more manageable, especially from a cast member's perspective. Like I was saying before, if those attractions go down, there's less pressure on those services. So again, I would opt for that. That's for sure. I do believe we have another comment here from BS123.
And that's why Universal's testing an a la carte service, as they want the extra money as well. And I think too, with that Lightning Lane multipass, I think a lot of people might want to buy it, maybe planning their trips, you know, looking into it, thinking that the biggie rides are included, and then they find out that they're not.
That's a good point right there. Yeah, the Lightning Lane multipass does include Walt Disney World. It gets even more complicated because you have tiers right there that they have to deal with for a lot of those attractions, and you know how many you can actually get of each tier. It's a whole big pain in the neck. But you're right though. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, causes tears. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
When you're looking at the service out there in Walt Disney World, especially right there, you might be like, oh, hey, let's go ahead and book a trip to Epcot right there. We're going to go ahead and get on, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be awesome. Everybody's raving about this coaster. You get Lightning Lane Multipass thinking that that's the service that you need, and then you find out, oh, I actually needed Lightning Lane Single Pass for that specific experience right there, so I had to actually opt in more money to get to the attraction that I want right there. These complexities, right, are creating these friction points where people are saying you need to have basically a degree in Disney to even visit or to even go. That wasn't always the case, but certainly after FastPass Plus, and all of its different iterations, that is certainly the case, and it's only getting more complex, not less. Hopefully Thomas Muslim is our, knight in shining armor right there to say, hey, stop with this madness. But we'll see.
And again, you're trying to plan out your entire day. So every single ride that you book, especially if you're stacking, you got to keep those times in your mind at all times.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's difficult, especially if you're going to eat or you have a big group of, 19 family members or something. I mean, that is crazy. That is
right.
Just to have
exactly.
the tickets on your account is just that's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. So you can, 19 people is wild because you got to think, you got to get all of their passes. You have to connect them to your account. Good luck with doing that. And everybody's supposed to, hold them as well while actually getting to the front gates. It's okay, that's a pain right there. But you got to think, too, okay, let's have everybody go on Space Mountain, which I think you can book that many at once. Again, he was doing it with 2 phones right there, so that was not an easy operation, especially to line them all up and everything like that. But then you can get another Lightning Lane 10 minutes after you redeem the one that you're trying to get to, or 2 hours beforehand. So depending on the time that you actually book that next Lightning Lane, it might be beneficial to actually have a timer actually set for that 2-hour countdown in order to book the next one. That way you can hopefully stack your visit right there. And again, clock's ticking. It's you're paying by the minute to be in these places. So
right.
You have these additional complexities. You have this additional stress. You have this additional rigmarole that you have to go on for your nice, relaxing vacation at Walt Disney World. Yes, this sounds like an incredible time. I can't imagine why so many people are opting for cruise line over parks right now. It's amazing.
Drop your bags and leave it. And you think about 19 people. I mean, if you consider, even if it's $35 for the multi-lane, 19 people, that's $665. And then you have different you have different ages, needs. Some people might be very little children, middle children, teens that don't want to go on certain things. You have elderly. You might have handicapped ones in your park, your party. That's a lot to deal with. Jared Markham here mentioned, I don't know what the prices are for Disneyland, even though that's technically the closest park to me in Oregon. But Disney World costs an arm and a leg for roughly a 12th of the attractions. I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point right there. Yeah. I you see that's so Disneyland is interesting, right? Because so between Walt Disney World and Disneyland, the demographics, the consumers are much different. So for Disneyland, for example, right? The people who actually frequent that park, let's say on an annual basis, 75% of your annual attendance at Disneyland is going to come within 250 miles of that resort. So you've got a lot of people who have been on the rides. You got a lot of people who have paid $1,900, let's say, for a pass. Are they necessarily incentivized to actually opt into a system like Lightning Lane in order to ride their favorite attractions when they've probably been on them more times than maybe a lot of people have visited Walt Disney World? So it just doesn't quite make sense. Maybe not. And so there are a lot of incentives to try to get the Disneyland locals onto that system. Versus Walt Disney World, a lot of people are going there, from domestic tourists, like from Pennsylvania, for example, New York, Chicago, one of the big places that actually visits Walt Disney World, Georgia, Atlanta, and Alabama, and all of that, right? So if people are actually opting for a Walt Disney World vacation, they might be going, at most once a year, but probably once every 5 years, once every 10 years, once every 20 years, or once in a lifetime, especially if you're coming in from international. So a lot of people, with that being said, right, are going to look to maximize the time that they have there. So the opt-in that you see, that 50% opt-in that we were talking about before, that's been released by Disney's earnings calls back, what is it, 2021, 2022, around there. People are like, hey, it takes thousands of dollars to get there. It takes thousands of dollars to go to these parks per day, especially if you have a large family. An extra $35 a person or even more to do that, a lot of people are going to opt into that. So it's, Jared, I feel your pain. And the prospect of actually paying more for that, yeah, it's not great. I will say, though, Disneyland, I think, has the better value, like by leaps and bounds. Each park is stacked with attractions, all of those offering a lot of Lightning Lane services for them right there. I would certainly say, if you're looking for value, I think Disneyland is the key if you're looking for attractions. Now, Walt Disney World's going to have a lot to offer, right? It might have some shows that Disneyland doesn't have. It might have those amazing vibes and Epcot, so forth, that Disneyland might not actually provide. But if you're a ride guy, I want to consider Disneyland because I think that value, even with Lightning Lane, is there.
But also, going back to his question, we're finding it's probably around, what, $35 or so a day to buy the Lightning Lane over in Disneyland? Depending on the day?
I think the average right now, yeah, I think that's about right.
Right, about $35. The other thing about Disneyland, it's just a different beast, too. There's so many rides that if you do it right, if you watch shows like Vash Sky ParkCast,
sure,
they're open longer. So it allows you to rope drop if you want to. We would just rope drop, go back, take a nap, if we had the long days, and then go back at night. I love night. Then you've got your place, you've got all the shows going. So when Fantasmic's going, the fireworks are going, those nighttime things are going, you can just walk on almost. Pirates and Haunted Mansion and a lot of those. And then they have the little kiddie rides, the dark rides. Love those rides. We always leave those for night. So after fireworks, everyone leaves, 10 o'clock or so. Between 10 and 12, you can literally jump on all those little rides. So there's a way to do Disneyland where you don't have to buy any Lightning Lane at all. We've done it only because they were maybe included in our passes that we bought, the deal that we got through Costco. But otherwise, if you know how to do it right, they're just open longer. You can get on stuff.
That's a very good point right there. Yeah, I mean, Disneyland open, at least this summer, right? You have 8 a.m. opening 12 a.m. closing right there. That's 16 hours to enjoy your day, which is fantastic, phenomenal, awesome. Versus even Walt Disney World right now, I mean, you get into Animal Kingdom, right? I think the opening there is 8, 9, 10, something like that, and it's going to be closing at probably 6. Not a lot of time. So you're right, even to redeem those lightning lanes, you actually get more day, more hours, more potential slots to visit your favorite attractions right there. It's a great point. One that, I mean, this is why you're the producer extraordinaire.
Thank you.
Very cool right there. Let's see right here. We have one person looking to join us right now, hopefully in a much better state than when he joined yesterday, and we can actually get some we can get him crystal clear for you, and that way we can preserve his dulcet tones. It is the one, it is the only, it is the theme park wizard. Hello there, wizard.
Hey, it's me. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Thanks for coming on. Very much appreciate you coming on. I know you're a man in demand right now when it comes to all things Universal. It is crazy what is going on. I want to go ahead and we're going to switch up the conversation just a little bit in order to maximize Wizard's time. I know he's got brief windows that he's available, so we want to go ahead and maximize on that. Wizard, we were talking about yesterday the issues related to Fast and Furious. I know there were maybe some things that I didn't personally cover that you are much better suited for covering. Was there anything very prominent that you wanted to feature here when it came to giving us an update on the state of Fast and Furious as it currently exists today?
Well, it looks like that they're doing multi-train testing as of yesterday. I don't know about today, but at least they're doing the multi-train testing as of yesterday. Empty trains, no people in the trains. And I talked to someone about it. They said it looks like they might be doing some more stress testing with the multi-train thing, see if it works out well this time. So hopefully it does, and hopefully it can open maybe next month or a little later on this year. Hopefully.
Yeah, we're really hoping on that because boy, oh boy, Fast and Furious. I mean, the whole theme park world is got their eyes trained on Hollywood, especially the coaster community, right? They want to get those credits as soon as possible. And the only way you can actually do that is with an operating coaster. And even though a few people have been lucky enough to actually ride it, unfortunately, when that alleged incident involving that spoiler coming off and shattering that glass, that really pushed them back. So I'm really, really hoping that they actually stick to that kind of summer 2026 deadline. And they've said they are, but from what we're hearing, Wizard, it's just, I don't know. It feels like that's optimistic at this point. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully that they're doing that, but I'm not sure. Wizard. Doesn't sound very good.
I know. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping for any kind of good update. And I do want to answer one of these comments here. Avarice.Carmageddon. Oh no, sorry, that one too. But the first one said,
this one.
he or she said, or they said, are theme parks worth it in this economy? I'm going to say yes, and I say yes because my goodness, you look around the world, and there's a lot of negativity and maybe tough times with high prices and stuff. But man, if you get in the theme park and you kind of escape for a bit, so it's worth it to me for that reason. And I think if you can afford it, it's worth it to you to have some fun and take some time out of take some time of your day when all these horrible parasites and viruses are going all around town. Relax and clear your mind for a few hours. Even if you have to deal with a lightning lane, it's still worth it. It's still a little bit worth it.
Just watch the lettuce when it comes to the food there.
Hey, this is why barbecue is the greatest thing in the world. You just can't get sick from that.
That's true. Everything that touches flame is gonna be good stuff right there.
We gotta get the feast stock. We gotta get the feast,
Yeah, exactly. Avarice Carmageddon actually coming in here with the second question. Please go ahead and answer this one right here.
This one, that particular neighborhood hates everything. You see that in that last B-roll shot. There was a big building there, and you see him again. That is the Burbank Media District, And if they could, I'm sure that Toluca Lake resident neighborhood would try to block all those buildings from being built and all the studios from over there from being built. So, they hate everything. But Universal, luckily, is in the noise compliance parameters for this coaster. In their evolution plan, they have a certain noise parameter boundary they have to stick to for all new additions. Most of the new additions are indoors, so obviously it's not really a problem. But for the outdoor ones like this, they did testing. They put speakers and blasted Velocicoaster sounds way back in January 2023 for 6 months to make sure that it was noise compliant, and no one was complaining then, at least that we can hear of. So they're good. They can complain all they want, but they're legally good to operate noise-wise with this coaster.
Yeah, I remember actually covering that with you, Wizard, when it came to the city council meetings and everything like that, trying to get these things approved with those Toluca Lake residents and everybody in the surrounding area of Universal Studios. And it looked like, Universal was making a ton of concessions and building out infrastructure specifically to deal with the noise and the lighting and all of that. So I'm kind of surprised that they would have issues now. Or maybe I shouldn't be, because every single resident within eye shot of a theme park usually raises problems of some kind, whether it be fireworks noise or coaster noise or lighting and all that kind of stuff. And it's a bunch of nonsense.
To piggyback on Vash's point there, if anyone was curious as to why this coaster may not be, let's say, it's themed as Velocicoaster or something, it's because all that additional money went to scream shields and sound walls and preventative measures for noise. That's where most of this coaster's budget went. So they really couldn't theme it too much, although it's Fast and Furious, which is a good theme because there's not much to there. But if Florida's is a little bit cooler or better themed, that is why.
Yeah, it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to have those restrictions. It doesn't have to suffer from those things. And I do wonder what the lighting package will look like without those restrictions, because I know lighting was also a big part of this as well, not just noise. But noise certainly one of the things that they were trying to mitigate while being cliffside right there. So really, really interesting, very, very cool. Cesar 2001 coming in with 2 gems, Silver Star, I do believe. I don't know what that is, but
that's kind of this new thing, the gems, and I guess it's cool. I know it's a big on TikTok, giving the gifts like that. I think it's something like that, but I know they're introducing it now. So gems, good job. Thanks for the gems for everyone who's sending gems.
Indeed. Remy D actually has a really great question right here. Any thoughts on Universal Quarter 2 performance and earnings call today? Now, I know there were some headlines made from, I guess, Comcast earnings call that they actually offered up here, but I wasn't able to do much research before this show. Wizard, maybe you have a little bit more to add to that in order to help out Remy D here?
Yes. Okay. So I guess the overall earnings call would be, I guess, weak. And I say overall because it includes Comcast, and I guess that Comcast part was also weak. The cable stuff, what's going on, whatever's going on over there. For the theme park or NBC Universal stuff, they did notice softer attendance in Orlando. They specifically mentioned that for the theme park division there. And but they had I think a 2% increase in revenue due to Epic Universe, but overall softer attendance in Orlando. I don't know about the rest of the parks, but they just mentioned Orlando, and which we see, by the way, as I'm sure Vash has been covering, softer attendance at Disney as well. Very hot summer. I guess people are just you see ticket deals at Universal and Disney, so it makes sense. So they just confirmed that. And they confirmed that Peacock turned profitable for the very first time ever this quarter, which is pretty cool. And I know we were just talking about that on the phone yesterday. And they mentioned mainly due to the sports stuff, the FIFA and the NBA stuff, which is why it's still I was talking to you about. Now, why doesn't Disney Plus do that? But whatever. Because you look, it's very profitable. But so that's good the very first time. But they did mention that the profitability will be will vary from quarter to quarter based on like sports events and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then they mentioned the movie or the studio itself doing particularly well with the releases like they mentioned the Odyssey doing well for future releases, but the two other ones, what other Universals came out this year? They mentioned two
Uh,
movies, and I completely forgot what they were. But they
oh,
said
that's a good point right there.
it helped them.
Sorry, Steven Spielberg's
Oh,
Disclosure Day.
that yes, that was not mentioned, but there was two.
I'm sure it wasn't.
They mentioned two specific. Wow, I cannot remember. They mentioned two specific ones. They said, "Wow, due to this and this." Oh, Obsession. That was one they mentioned. Obsession doing very
Oh,
well.
well,
For
that's
them.
good.
And then they mentioned another one, but yeah, they did not mention Disclosure Day. I think we
yeah.
all know why.
I think we all know why as well. Yeah, it had a lot of executives looking at that with, some trepidation.
No, 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 don't do it!
That's what I see the other $1 film.
That's the other one, right? That would be your obsession right there. But Blog Mickey has this right now. Universal confirms Orlando tourism summer softens attendance below expectations, July 23rd, 2026. Yeah, I don't tend to cover attendance patterns so much on Vash Sky ParkCast. Obviously, that Park Place does a wonderful job in keeping everybody up to date on those attendance figures. But I will say it's been extremely slow. I think it's been the slowest that it has been since various areas of 2021, which is really crazy given those COVID restrictions right there. But at least for Walt Disney World attendance and those wait times, that's what we're kind of seeing right there. Now, obviously, it's not super indicative of maybe people that are in the park, but if people are opting for rides, and they're probably a populace that's opting for other experiences as well. Not good. Comcast held its second quarter 2026 earnings call this morning, and on the call, executives confirmed that attendance across the broader Orlando market began softening in June and has remained pressured into the third quarter. In fact, it reads right here, my little analysis. Let's see right here. Universal Destination Experiences saw second quarter 2026 revenue rise 2.7% to $2.41 billion, driven by Orlando's Epic Universe. But adjusted EBITDA, which is the profit sector or metric, dropped 5.1% to $609 million. Executives citing softer Orlando attendance since June, higher travel costs, and China-related travel restrictions impacting Universal Studios Japan. Very, very interesting stuff there, Wizard, because we know that Japan, unlike Disney, Universal Osaka, I do believe, is, well, it's part owned by Comcast in a big way.
And it's
versus
the busiest part, one of their busiest parks, if not
right. Right. So that is certainly significant right there. Very interesting, but very much appreciate having you on, Wizard.
And it's interesting also because like I said, they mentioned Orlando and Japan there, but at least from my own eyeballs over here in Hollywood, it seems actually a little busier this summer than last summer. Maybe because people thought the coast would be open, but it seems like when I go, they have those a lot lately. They have those signs up the that area between that corridor between Harry Potter and Simpsons, that kind of tight main corridor there. They have the keep right signs, and I got told by my team member friend that when that sign is up and that divider's up, that means the projection for the day is over 30,000, and they have a max capacity of like 34, 36, maybe 38,000. So that's when basically, if you see that sign, it's busy for the day, and that sign has been up almost every single weekend that I've been there for the past several weeks. So it's been pretty busy over here at least, and maybe that's because people are coming to adding Universal to their LA vacation, so it's not more like theme park focus. It's just like, hey, I'm going to LA and here's Universal, and locals too. Not sure, but that is pretty interesting how Orlando seems soft, but hey, Hollywood seems at least the same. Or
I recently I will say, Wizard, I recently had somebody who actually kind of scoffed at the stories regarding Fast and Furious in Universal Studios Hollywood, considering them local stories, which I thought was interesting because it's like you and I both know, Wizard. Yes, of course, there is a local demographic that loves experiencing Hollywood, but it's not just restricted to those locals. Maybe, when comparing it to maybe something like Disneyland, you do have a lot of domestic, but certainly international tourists who love actually going to Universal Studios Hollywood in order to, see where the movies are made. So I was kind of shocked by that comment. I know the entire theme park world is laser focused on Hollywood specifically right there. Like you said, I think some of that increased attendance comes from maybe perhaps the hope that Fast and Furious is open. But certainly people are adding Universal Studios Hollywood to their LA vacations and so forth, and we've seen that actually in Disney's own data that people like to go to Hollywood. They like to go to other places in Southern California, which is why maybe perhaps we have Disney's California Adventure to point out that. So that's a whole other story for a whole other day.
Very interesting. Last time I went to Disney, which was a couple weeks ago, I was like, it wasn't like empty, but it was very interesting for the first time in a very long time. I always go on a Sunday because there's less traffic in general around town. And I went, and I was my normal time. I got there around like 10:30 or so in the morning, and I was like car number 3 behind the parking toll booth, which is pretty crazy. I'm usually waiting in a line outside the garage, sometimes the freeway to park, but I was the 3rd car in the parking garage. I'm like, well, there's no line in here. I took a picture and everything. I was like, I haven't seen this in a long time. I was very happy, but I was like, wow, this place isn't busy at all, which is
wow.
That depends on when you go. It was on July 12th actually, because that was the first night of the $60 after the Twilight ticket thing.
The Twilight ticket.
I'm curious. I was waiting till the nighttime, but it was like so empty. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool.
Wow, very, very interesting. It's quite interesting to see the consumer habits change a little bit in the Southern California market. I know that I was just talking recently to our dear friend Marty Snyder, actually.
Marty!
Talking about how he's opting to forego for the first time, and I believe he told me 35 years of having an annual pass at the Disneyland Resort, opting out of it and instead taking advantage of the deals that Disneyland regularly provides. So he's going to give me an end of year report on that and see how well he came out with his family right there. So it should be really interesting to see because I think he was paying like anywhere. I think it was like well over $5,000 every single year to get those passes for him and his kids.
Family, yeah.
That's
a lot of money.
Right. So, there's going to be some changing consumer behavior right there, and I am very interested to see what happens, especially when you have changing consumer behavior surrounding an incoming franchise. Right? This is from Danny Meyering, I do believe, from Attractions Magazine. Pokemon Land at Universal Orlando. We dug through months of permits to find out speculation surrounding Universal Orlando's long-rumored Pokemon expansion. That's July 22nd, 2026, by the way, is growing after a nearly discovered permit led some theme park enthusiasts to believe a specific ride system could be headed to Islands of Adventure. And if you actually scroll through here, look at that. What is that? It's Theme Park Wizard being cited in Attractions Magazine. Fantastic, because you have on your website, sir, rumored potential ride system for rumored Pokemon Land at Islands of Adventure by Ethan, that being you, July 20th, 2026 right here. Wizard, go ahead and break down what we're actually looking at right here. Why do we believe that this might be the ride system actually being employed at the Pokemon area, taking up residence in the current, soon to be former Lost Continent area?
Well, see, this is interesting. So Lost Continent's being demolished right now. All the rumors seem to point to Pokemon, and apparently one of the rides in Pokemon is supposed to be an Omnimover type of attraction. Now, it's interesting because there's, I guess, a podcast in the UK, and they're talking about how they think or have some source or something that the Paddington ride over there is going to be also an Omnimover. So then a notice of commencement of permit came out for Florida just a few days ago, and it was for Islands of Adventure. Expiration date sometime in 2020 or March 2027, and it's for like Garmin Deering, I forget the name, but Game and Deering Engineering or something like that. But they're from the UK, and so I was talking with Alicia Stella about it, and I was like, we're thinking maybe this could be like a package deal, because they make on their website was that picture though. They make Omni movers. They also do air gates. So they did the air gates for Velocicoaster, I'm sure other things. So, but so it could be a simple air gate replacement for a Velocicoaster, or they also do dark rides and all these other Omni mover rides. So maybe potentially we came up with a theory that maybe they got a package deal, right? 2 Omni mover rides, one for the Universal UK and one for Universal Orlando. And maybe this could be one of the Pokemon rides. And a lot of people were commenting it looks like a Pokemon Snap type of a ride vehicle there, or a situation where you just go, instead of shoot the Pokemon, you just take pictures of them, or however that works. And that could be one of the rides. So we'll see. But very interesting, because they are moving pretty fast on that. So they will start building a building soon. So it makes sense to file permits with contractors for what's going in those buildings relatively quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You're going to see in this roll right here, in the May update that BioReconstruct, thankfully, has conducted with his amazing helicopter up there, getting those aerial shots for the entire theme park community to salivate over. When he was actually doing that in May, that Simbad structure was there. Now, it was being demoed, but it was still there. Now, with that July update, it is completely leveled, and now they've actually started on Poseidon's Fury, which I think is very, very interesting. That being leveled probably as we speak right now, which is a real shame. There's no question about that. You can see a little bit of that Simbad, that former theater structure right there, as the video uploader actually peeked in right there to give you an idea of what we're talking about. It is extraordinary, Wizard, how fast they're moving on all of this stuff. Faster than I would say Disney might if it was them actually doing this. It's crazy, and I would have thought, hey, maybe you reutilize some of this stuff right here, some of this theming. No, they are opting for clean slate, build up, new infrastructure, new land features, etc. I am very excited, and as Everest Carmageddon has actually said right here, I love this comment, Pokemon holding all of the cards, so to speak, right? I mean, the reason why they're moving this fast, Wizard, I think, is for Pokemon and that amazing profitability that comes from that. I mean, Lorcana, if that's to judge by anything, Pokemon's way bigger, and so demand, I think, Wizard, is extraordinary for this, right?
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I mean, remember those big crowds when the Harry Potter opened? I bet something similar will happen when Pokemon opens.
Right. Oh yeah, that's a good point. I mean, look at the recent opening of, let's say Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure. I remember those lines being 7-8 hours long, stretching all the way to the front of port of entry right there for the entire park. It was massive, that opening, and that was just for one attraction. You place Pokemon in this park right here, the sky is truly the limit on what they could actually achieve. Now, it's very interesting. People have been a little bit disappointed about perhaps this dark ride concept being associated with Pokemon, because I think everybody wants a big, thrilling e-ticket attraction. But Wizard, I would argue it's very important to have a mixture of attractions, right? Certainly within your park, but maybe even within your land. Could you go ahead and give us, maybe what we can expect for the overall attractions featured in this area, and why Universal might have opted for something like this?
Yeah, so I've seen some of that as well, and I'm like, first of all, Pokemon they should be for like Nintendo's for everybody, all ages. So you can't have like some inverted B&M coaster, or else the kids who want Pokemon won't be able to get on it. Like a Tiana's problem, right? But if you have the this nice dark ride, nice. Maybe I think also the fact that it's like potentially an interactive thing think people don't like. I think people are kind of getting over those, like simulators,
True.
kind of getting over those. But as you mentioned, I think Nintendo likes this interactive thing because they have them on all lands. I mean, even Yoshi's interactive, and that's just a people mover situation. So I think Nintendo really likes this interactive. So Universal may have to put at least one in there, and this that probably could be that. But there's also 3 rumored rides here, so it's not just that one. There's a rumored family coaster and a rumored spinner ride, as well as this dark ride. So I feel like it'd be a nice mix of coasters. And if there's 3 actual attractions that do come, I mean, heck, when's the last time a new land in an old park opened with 3 new rides? I mean, last time I can think of like Cars Land, which is and that's a nice land. So I think it'll be a nice balance of attractions. The coaster, the family coaster, will be like for the more intense thing, but I'm sure everyone can ride that if that comes to fruition. Then there's Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Dark ride here, could be really cool. And also it depends also how it is executed, right? If it's like web slingers, then it's just screens and you just go like this the whole time, then like But if it's like Secret Life for Pets with a whole bunch of animatronics and the shooters or cameras, then people will be like, oh my god, it's so amazing, because it's practical. So it's really all about the execution, not really the ride system, in my opinion.
No, that's a fantastic point right there. I mean, ride system is one thing, but certainly execution, I think, is a brand new can of worms right there. And I would imagine, you talk about coaster and you talk about maybe everybody be able to ride it. Perhaps something like what's on offer right now at Isle of Burke, perhaps going in that direction right there.
That's a great ride. And I feel like if a wing glider situation came over here, that would really help, because wing gliders is one of my favorite rides ever. So that'd be great.
And you got to think too, in terms of dark ride that the entire family can enjoy, there's not that many to go around at Islands of Adventure. Exactly. I think it's just Cat in the Hat might be the only one.
And
right?
Does Spider-Man count?
But Spider-Man, I suppose counts, but that has a height requirement, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and Cat Hat's much lower, if anything. So yeah, something that's way lower, no height requirement. Yeah, really just Cat in the Hat. And maybe does Kong have a height requirement? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, but would you take maybe a little one on Kong? That might be an experience for them, right?
That big animatronic, that I'd be like,
super cool. Oh, I love that big Kong right there.
Yeah. I would.
Oh,
I did.
I'm taking you no matter what.
well, remember, I mean, Universal Studios Hollywood. Oh my goodness, Kong! You had to go on it before it burned down. I mean, it was the most outrageous thing you ever could see. But also, it was on the tram ride. So even though you had kids, little kids, babies.
That's a good point.
Nursing kids, it doesn't matter. They're going. You're going.
They're going. Yeah, because we're not going to miss a studio tour. That's
and that's point. like out of 45 minutes, it's like a minute. So you definitely got to take them through. Right. And there's no height requirement for it. So it's like,
I'm so glad we saw that before that burned down. It just you just can't redo it. It was so good. It was so good.
It was fantastic. But Islands of Adventure, obviously having a Kong animatronic of its own, which is very, very cool. But there's a lot of shifting going on Islands of Adventure right now, right, Wizard? I mean, if Toon Lagoon does get the boot right there, that's going to place even more emphasis to have family-friendly attractions that people can actually opt into for Pokemon. So it kind of makes sense longer term, as much as it might make sense shorter term right there. Do we know any rumors or things that you want to go ahead and let the viewers know of when it comes to Toon Lagoon? Because we've heard a gambit of things. I know there are people who was like, oh, SpongeBob, and hey, SpongeBob would be cool. That's not quite what I'm hearing. What are you hearing?
Yeah, man, I haven't heard anything for Toon Lagoon in so long, but the last thing I did hear was like a One Piece or anime situation over there. But that was so long ago, but I imagine they'd want to go through that. I mean, look how popular was it FanFest nights, right? So I feel like you'd want to continue that. And like I said before, you can do whatever you want. Just keep the river raft system there and retheme it to whatever you want, because that is a super soaker and my favorite water ride
Popeyes, yeah.
Popeyes does a great job of getting you wet in the Florida hot sun. Like, I never got that wet in the water ride ever. That was incredible. I love that thing. We went on 2 times. I came off dripping. I had to put my phone away because I was getting so.
Oh no, that's no good. Yeah, I mean it's Universal's in play with their water rides. Okay, you go on something like what is it? The Dilly Do rides, right? Ripsaw Falls. You go on that, you better expect you're going to get way wet. It's not like maybe it's Young's Bite Adventure, right, where you can kind of like avoid it if you're sitting in the right place or whatever. Nah, you're gonna be going through waterfalls. So just know.
So cool.
You want to be setting up.
Talk about pushing the limit. That's the one. We love it.
That's a very good point right there. Oh, so good. I can't wait for Islands Adventure Future. I think it's remarkable right here. And right next door, you're going to have that amazing Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift coaster of its own at Universal Studios Florida. And whoever knows what actually might set a presence in Universal's Studios Florida's version of Supercharged. Now, I guess that's one thing that I can bring up to you, Wizard, because I'm not sure about Supercharged's future. I know that they have formally announced that it will be closing for the last time in August, which is big news. Are we hearing anything there? Because that thing has changed a number of times, right?
Yeah, I don't know. The last thing I heard was maybe a temporary Back to the Future thing or a night bus or nothing. Actually, the really last thing I heard was nothing, but maybe a temporary Back to the Future thing. But it might be just like ours. We're just sitting there in an empty building. Well, ours is tram storage, so it has some sort of use. But, but I don't know. It could just be maybe an empty building. Maybe they'll put a full-blown Halloween Horror Nights in the house in there. I know they use some of it for that. Maybe they'll put another one in there in the meantime. Who knows? But I don't know. Nothing. It always changes. But I mean, look at Creature, right? It went from Creature to Bride to Creature again, and now it's under construction. So I guess you have to like play the spin the bottle and see which one's gonna land on by the time they start construction.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point right there. And yeah, we've been hearing a lot about Creature, Bride, or whatever. I'm not quite sure what they're gonna opt for. I hope it's Creature. I hope it's a water ride, but who knows for Epic. Speaking of Epic, O2RR coming in here with the $4.99. Thank you so much. Universal Studios. Absolutely. Universal Studios Orlando is now heavily IP based. With Epic, though, Celestial Park and Original Creation is the central headquarter to the other 4 IP based worlds. Yeah, that is something, right? Universal, the one time they tried something original, the one time they went forward and did it all big was actually the Lost Continent area, which unfortunately is going to be the area that will be no more very, very shortly. Certainly, Wizard, I mean, Universal, especially right now, they're going to be opting for not just their own content, but licensed content. In fact, Michael Eisner actually just recently gave an interview with Fortune talking about how one of the best decisions that he ever made was licensing the Star Wars brand for use in Disney's theme parks, both with Star Tours and, well, Lucasfilm broadly for Indiana Jones. I think Universal is going to be, doing that as well, not only with its own IP, but featuring obviously outside IP like anime. I guess Transformers would cover that. Certainly Nintendo, which we have coming up here, a story out of there. Wizard is not going to be broken anytime soon. I think the whole industry is traveling, very, very quickly towards IP, right?
Yeah, I don't think actually in the earnings call, it's one thing they didn't mention. Mike Cavanaugh specifically said they want to continue to partner with third-party IP. They said all over the place with licensing their things to like Netflix and in the theme parks, and partnering with IPs and licensing stuff. So he actually did make an emphasis on that. He said he likes that business model. And he said that was like one sentence in the earnings call. I was like, oh, wow, very interesting. He specifically mentioned, so I think it will continue for decades to come.
Yeah, indeed. And again, that when Michael Eisner did that back in the mid-1980s, that was a long time ago. We're talking 40 years now. So I think that this is the trend the industry is going to continue. And right there, we are, it's amazing to see like the port of entry for Islands of Adventure or the Celestial Park for Epic Universe. But, expect more IP down the line right here. I want to go ahead and, speaking of IP and certainly speaking of Super Nintendo World and Epic Universe, saw this little update too from Walt Disney World News today. Epic Universe reportedly clears Donkey Kong Minecart Madness to operate in the rain. I thought this was pretty significant because we talked about Wizard, some of the problems, the issues that this specific park has endured in its first year. One of those being that, hey, if it rains, basically half the park, if not more, actually goes down. Wizard, some alleviation here for guests.
Yes, thank goodness. And that's good. It can run in the rain. Obviously, when it's just raining, when there's lightning, they can't run. But when there's raining, it's good it's able to run because, yeah, you can't do really much of anything besides like those 2 rides or maybe Constellation Carousel as well. So maybe 3 rides out of like 11. But now this will make 4 rides and a very popular one that has a long wait time the entire day because of its capacity and popularity. So, and it makes it even worse when, when it closes and has to reopen, they have to accommodate all the express lanes and all that stuff. So now with it being open throughout the whole day, it should be able to eat more people up and it'll give people another option of something to do when it's raining, which is nice. Unfortunately, the line will probably still be super long and maybe even longer, as that's one of now 4 things to do. But at least
That's
it's
right.
something. And it would be pretty cool, I think, to get a rain ride on that. I'd want to enjoy that because that ride's a kind of a rough one, but it's a really fun one. So imagine rain coming in your face. Oh, that sounds incredible.
Well, certainly a relief for guests looking to do everything that Epic Universe has to offer. I think that's good ops to try and get some of these things certified to operate in the rain. I understand it's not optimal to endure a coaster in the rain in many circumstances, but like Wizard said, it should provide some relief to the existing attractions that can operate in the rain. It should provide a way for at least a few guests to ride this coaster even when it is raining. I think it's good. I think it's a nice operational move right there. We'll have to see what other coasters or offerings at Universal Epic Universe actually change.
I feel like Curse of the Werewolf would be a nice candidate to clear to run in the rain. It's kind of a short one, so maybe they'll try to get that one to go in the rain.
Interesting. Juliet coming in here again with the 2 British pounds sterling. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and share.
She wants you to eat a burger with lettuce on it. Be careful, Julie.
You just might want to hold off on that just for right now. I'm just telling you guys right there with a little cat emoji, little smiley face. Thank you so much, Juliet, for that. O2RR, thank you so much for your support as well. Nicole Williams in the chat. We've had a lot of people in the chat right there offer up their opinions. Disney Fan 55, do we have anybody that we want to go ahead and recognize while the Wizard is here?
I think we covered them all. Most of them.
Oh,
yeah.
Most of them, indeed.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, right there. That is fantastic. The Real Ventures coming in here. I love that Universal hasn't really mentioned it will be Pokemon, but we're 99% confident that it will be Pokemon. Yeah, that's true. That's, Universal's... Exactly. Universal's really cagey with all of their announcements. I mean, they don't announce anything up until right when, people see it or well into the not just development process but the production process, which is really, really interesting. Obviously too, like Fast and the Furious, I think it worked out for Universal because they didn't really commit themselves to a timetable regarding that coaster. They have said summer, but they didn't commit themselves to a date specifically, so I think it worked out in that instance. But very, very interesting indeed.
Just what you were saying, at Rice Carmageddon, Universal won't announce it until it's 80 to 90% already built, usually. And that's so true. They'll just say it's some kind of churro cart or something for 2 years. It's a churro cart. Velocicoaster.
What's that big roller coaster track right there in the middle of Ellen's Adventure?
It's a black
nothing. Don't worry
flavored
about
churro.
Right. Right.
Fantastic. I love that right there. Speaking of Wizard, while we have you here for our remaining time, I want to go ahead and go over this real fast with you. We got about 15 minutes until Marvin's program right there.
Marvin!
Indeed, with his M4 Empire, Fantasmic needs a new dragon and reimagining in 2027. This is by Tom Bricker right here. He left this on his blog, his Disney Tourist blog, maybe a couple days ago by now. There was a time when we never missed Fantasmic at Disneyland. It was a must-see every single trip. We camp out for as long as necessary along the rivers of America, purchase dining packages, or prioritize joining the virtual queue when available. And there were even weeks when we'd watch it a few times. Yes, that's certainly been the history that I've been connected to with our family right there. There's no question about that. Well, unfortunately, that hasn't necessarily been the case in recent years. A lot has changed in the last few years. The first big one was that Disney's Hollywood Studios reimagined its version of Fantasmic and added a new sequence that brings to life heroic moments from Disney stories such as Moana, Mulan, Aladdin, Frozen 2, and Pocahontas, and that replaced the interminably long Pocahontas scene, and the difference it has made cannot be overstated. Meanwhile, Fantasmic at Disneyland has only gotten much worse, as we've detailed before. No reason to read it right here, but I mean, we've had pyrotechnic issues, we've had issues with the Mark Twain, we've had issues with the Columbia, we've had issues with projections, we've had issues with lifts and so forth for Maleficent. The Dragon obviously burned down some years ago, and really, Wizard, I mean, when I look at the state of Fantasmic, it's, I have a real strong love and affinity for the show right here. I want to see it in the best shape possible, and, well, a lot of people, too, want to see it in the best shape possible because they're paying into it in the form of dining packages. Disney makes, hundreds of thousands of dollars per day that this show actually takes place, and yet it is in this state. Wizard, there's a gambit of different things that people are predicting for D23. And as we've kind of had conversations about, I just don't think that we're going to have the big announcements for this D23, especially as it relates to Disneyland. Mm-hmm. But is this one thing that, can we expect, and how would it be received that a reimagined Fantasmic might be on the docket for D23?
Boy, I hope it's one of the surprises they're waiting for, because, boy, it's been a while now. And I think I saw on Fresh Break's latest construction update, they had some of the fountains up at the river drain for the fountains area, and some of them were like stuck. And I'm like, oh man. But and that was like on Monday. But
oh no, they've been working on that section of the Rivers of America. People don't know there's 3 little performance spaces right there, performance stages, and the one to the very far right has been worked on for, I think, months now. You're saying that they're having problems with that, huh?
Yeah, and his video, like 2 of the 3 were up with broken, stuck fountains or something. So I hope they fix that. But yeah. Come on, we need a new dragon, a new revamped Fantasmic. I'll never forget the tweet. I think it was from Five Fires, where he's like, "Man, this is a C mode Fantasmic, not a B mode, man." Because I mean, that's crazy. It's such a marquee show. It's been going on for as longer than Waterworld, and I mean, it should be treated as a marquee, legendary show because it's so cool when it's all working. It's like, wow, and it just pops up in the middle of the river like that and has all the projections and pyrotechnics and Mickey and all those people. And then, to sit there, people stake out like a couple hours sometimes their seats for this thing. So to see it not performing as it should, and you wasted all that time, or getting a dessert package, you said, and then you spend all that money, and then it's all broken. You see a C mode Fantasmic. Like, give me my money back. Like, we deserve a full dragon and just a whole bunch of working effects like they have been for such a long time until the after the dragon burned down, it's like they just gave up. They said, okay, let's let it rot or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I want a
It's
new
so-
dragon, and I hope it's a surprise.
It's so wild, right? It's so crazy. How like the dragon issue has not been addressed, and there were rumors that maybe they would announce something for the 70th anniversary, perhaps the last D23 Expo. That would have been very, very interesting had they done that. Obviously, they did not, and now they're taking down 70th Decor, so that has long expired there. So I don't think that's going to necessarily happen. However, there is a chance, I suppose, that a new dragon could be announced at D23, and I think that would placate the fans quite a bit. I think OG55 had said something, some very similar to that effect right there. I think a lot of fans would opt for that and be okay with that. Now, I myself personally, I'd like to see maybe a people mover, but that's just me. And as long as we don't lose anything, like Disney World has experienced for the last 10 or so years, I would opt for that as well. But come on, I mean the dragon.
Yeah.
Like let's go at least. Right?
We can't get them on the easy end. We can't just they can't just say a new dragon. I want a dragon with a timetable. I don't know. Oh, Fantasmic, a new dragon. Remember Portos announced in 2022 when it's now just under construction?
Yes.
So I want a new dragon with a timetable debuting this year. Whatever, say a year. Even if it's for the 75th anniversary, just say a year. So at least we have something to expect. Don't say coming soon or not even coming soon. A new dragon's just coming, and then it just disappears into oblivion, and then a decade goes by. Hey, where's that new dragon? So I'm holding to it. Neil Patrick Harris. Sorry, I'm blaming you since you're presenting it. Come on, Neil. You better give me a dragon and a date.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
dragon
And vague announcement.
Get that dragon that's underneath Disneyland Paris
Yes.
castle.
Yeah,
there you go. That's what we want. A real fire-breathing dragon.
Yeah.
I used to wait 7 hours for Fantasmic.
At
It
Disneyland.
was worth the price of admission. Of course, we had annual passes back then, 365 days a year for we paid like $250 a year for those.
It's wild.
But
And
I
look,
would
you
wait
got
7
more
hours
value.
and a little trick. I would bring those little from the dollar store, the tablecloths. You just lay those out. Everybody sits on them. You eat on 'em, whatever, and you just throw them away. They're just $1. Well, they're $1.25 now. But with so much, 3/4 of that being dining area where you can't just wait for the front, like we used to do back in the day. I would have thought that because they had the dining packages, that would have helped pay for these shows. And obviously, I don't know with the movies, the losses of movies, it just continues to take away from the parks. They're making money off of this, but they're definitely not giving the show for what
yeah,
the money they're charging.
Those packages, they're paying for something. They're just paying for previously Bob Iger's salary. That's what they're paying. They're paying for. My goodness.
Yeah, I know, right? They're not stuffing
The
that
yacht.
back into. Yeah.
The yacht.
The
Maybe
yacht,
he's
the
getting
super
a
yacht.
third shower. Maybe he's getting a third
Ooh.
shower. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he is converting the Rivers of America to his own swimming pool. And that's
Yeah, could
after
be.
hours.
Could be.
There you go. Well, hey,
Because-
if it
But,
retains Rivers of America at Disneyland, maybe I opt for that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I know, right? To answer the real Ventures question, what's stopping Disney from fixing the show? Is it because everyone, at least for a while, kept going and they're like grooming? Talk about grooming. They're grooming people to not care for the show, like they have groomed people for not caring for a Hyperion Theater show for how many years now, And then people just go like, oh, well, there's not been a show there, so I guess there's not going to be one. So it's okay. We'll just keep going along, riding some rides. Oh, it's okay. Oh, no Fantasmic today. Oh, the thing burned down. I guess, whatever. Okay, we'll just go on Pirates, and there's no show. But I love this place. Let's go buy another pass. And then they're like, oh, we don't have to ride a show.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Castle Dreamlights at Cinderella Castle, right? We've talked about how, one winter they went without him, and it was like, oh, people still came. We had the same guest satisfaction surveys, and people still opted to come to Walt Disney World. Okay, we just don't have them anymore. So sometimes you do develop these habits, Wizard. I think that's a very astute observation. When people opt into these experiences, regardless of the state that they're actually in, well, what incentive does Disney necessarily have to invest in that show properly? It is a big concern, a big question. And, I think with the Hyperion Theater, yeah, new show there. And if they were announced that at D23, I'd be all about it. I'd be, ooh, this is fantastic right there. Finally going to get this open. Because, so many people, they it becomes a habit, right? You just go to DCA and you just don't expect to enter that theater, and maybe you opt to buy new tickets, buy new annual passes, buy whatever, with the expectation that that theater's not open. And well, Disney has no less incentive to bring it back.
Which one sounds better to you? Or if you were in Burbank, Ray or New Dragon? Rays or New Dragon?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And, I mean, back in the day, Murphy, that you're actually seeing in flames right now, that was back in the day a $10 million dragon. Now, how much does that cost currently? I don't even know. Like that's a big
Again, the longer they wait,
consideration.
The more these things are, go up.
Yeah, exactly. It is so true right there. I want to have a little fun with you, Wizard, before we have to get on out of here. I saw this on X, actually. This was kind of funny. Scott Gooston here talking about some issues at Disneyland. Happy birthday, Disneyland. This is obviously July 17th here. You've changed a lot over the last 71 years, but it's comforting to know that the construction wall in Tomorrowland remains timeless.
Okay, wait. I know we have just like 60 seconds, but I have a theory, and I'm actually making a video on this.
Sure.
About this wall. I think it's happening, but not in the way that everyone wants to, okay? I'll do a quick summary of my video. So you've seen the recent refurbishments around Tomorrowland, basically painting stuff, right? Painting it white. Like Buzz Lightyear, they repainted everything, and it kind of looks like that white of the new entrance on the the walls there. So my theory is they're gonna just repaint all of Tomorrowland white for now, just like give it a refresh. Then eventually build that new entrance, but like that's it. Nothing crazy. Just like build the new retro futuristic entrance, paint the rest of Tomorrowland to match that color scheme, and then that'll be it. Then maybe down the line. Because look, we got Electric Autopia. That's due to California law. If that law didn't happen, it would just be sitting there. But that was Disney's time. They're like, okay, we have to either upgrade this or demolish it. They chose to upgrade it. So that means they chose the decision to really not invest too much into Tomorrowland, in my opinion. Right? After the lockdowns happened, Finding Nemo was sitting closed because it was like a tight space, right? They could have just closed that. But they chose to reopen it. That right there was my decision. Another decision that like, oh, okay, they not just reopened, but they invested the big refurb into it, like probably millions of dollars. So that right there, it shows they weren't going to get rid of that. Or Autopia with electric cars. They repainted Buzz, and so I think they're just going to finally execute that vision on the wall, and then that'll be pretty much it for a while, and that'll be the Tomorrowland refresh, in my opinion.
So you think there's a chance?
I think there's a chance for that wall, but that's about.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah.
No.
Not good.
So
Not good right there. No, I think you make some astute observations, Wizard, and I think you are correct in a lot of cases. I think when we saw that Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster's exterior be painted like that so significantly, very different from what they've opted for the last 20 years or so.
It was a couple months that was being painted like that, so they really took their time.
They really took their time to do it, and certainly evokes that 1967 style. I think they want to go ahead and restore Tomorrowland to that time period to some degree. Obviously not going full bore with maybe a brand new Tomorrowland in the way that many of us have hoped over these last years. But I think they're opting for that also to Walt Disney World, getting a kind of a piecemeal Tomorrowland as well, certainly with Carousel of Progress, Buzz Lightyear itself right there, and maybe perhaps that includes some Space Mountain.
We didn't even
That's
get
true.
a ride.
That's true. It's a good point right there.
And another point, you mentioned that Buzz Lightyear refurbishment, you can tell it was really just the exterior, because I think you even mentioned when it reopened, and my chat took some photos, the vehicles are still kind of like ripped apart, and they didn't really do much interior. So it was
Yeah.
really just a focus on the exterior, which I feel like even more so leads me to believe they're just going to paint Tomorrowland white and do that whole thing because they
That'd
didn't
be
even
nice.
fix Buzz Lightyear.
I just want
That's a
the
good point.
flowers. Okay, so the concept art has flowers. They don't have those
Yeah,
dead
no, yeah, that I don't know.
cacti,
That's
Arizona looking whatever dead stuff that
and
is.
they're not
I want the
even, like, a
flowers.
good color. They're like,
And Disneyland needs to get back their hanging flower baskets.
That's right.
I mean,
Hanging flower baskets.
Do fake. I don't know. I have fake out here. So just if you can't do real, do fake. But we need the flowers.
because I mean, look at that. I mean, even Arizona, like desert plants, can be pretty, but that color is just disgusting.
It's
Agreed.
awful. It was so disappointing that they actually installed those. I don't even know what they are, especially when it comes to like what they had before, which was I think just grass, and it looked
just
beautiful,
grass.
looked fine. Just keep that. But I gotta fix what isn't broken. Now, people will know this attraction poster, famously featuring the People Mover at Tomorrowland. Obviously, this going back to 1967 when the People Mover made its debut at Disneyland. Unfortunately, it only lasted until about 1996 when they. That being the Imagineers, opted to change it out for the rocket rods, and well, we know that it only lasted a very short amount of time, and the track has been desolate ever since. I saw this one right here on X. I just couldn't help but laugh right there. A new attraction poster for a modern age right there, featuring the old People Mover. I got quite the laugh out of that.
That's hilarious.
And I'm hoping that maybe D23 has perhaps a little information regarding the fate of maybe some distinct areas of Tomorrowland, even if it's just Walt Disney World. Perhaps that gives Disneylanders some more hope. And I do agree with your theory about the future of Tomorrowland,
Because
as illustrated here.
even if they don't want to do anything with the People Mover tracks, even just demolish the center of them, if they don't do nothing with those, they should take a cue from like the New York, what they do with that Highline Park. They converted the old railway into a park, make it a nice little park up there, fireworks viewing area, and fix it up just a little bit so people can walk up there and you can upcharge people to watch fireworks from that location.
Yeah.
Be a nice viewing spot.
Yeah, it almost sounds like Epcot concept art. I don't know.
Oh yeah, what happened to that three-story festival building?
Didn't get that one either.
Oh boy, Epcot. That's gonna have to be studied,
Oh,
especially as it
man.
relates to D23 announcements. Because man, he just nothing happened there. It's terrible.
It's almost like don't touch it. Maybe just don't touch our Tomorrowland. Just leave it alone. Okay, paint is okay. It can be painted over, but don't ruin it. Please don't.
It's a fair point. That's a fair point right there. This actual
Look how cool that
slideshow,
looks.
right? This B-roll package coming from our Vash and Vixen program, which we have every single Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Become a
As we-
member.
Absolutely. To you Sky Watchers out there, you members, well, you have access to the Vash and Vixen program. I think this week we usually cover theme park history. Thereabouts, a lot of it being Disneyland because it's got 70 years of history, but we want to go ahead and branch out to Walt Disney World and even maybe incorporate Knott's Berry Farm. So I think this week we're going to be talking about trains. I know Walt Disney,
Trains. I love trains.
right. Walt Disney had a clear passion for the railroad, but also too, Walter Knott did as well, and that's Berry Farm, that is, just actually refurbished their two steam trains right there, which was pretty cool. A big write-up in OC Register about that. So we might go over that. We might go over the Lily Bell as well. We're still deciding topics right there, but if you want to go ahead and have your pet be featured as Pet of the Week, you can go ahead and do so at vixensky007@gmail.com. Go ahead and include a photo of you, maybe your pet as well. Perhaps, your pet for sure, but maybe you holding your pet, I meant to say. Maybe perhaps a video, a story. That would be very good stuff right there. Vixen Sky, already very excited to include you guys on the program. So that's going to be at Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Cannot wait to see you there. But first, we've got to talk about Mr. I want to say Park Wizard, but it's more like Hermit Wizard now. You switched it up on me, so I've had to update some of my links, Wizard, to your stuff recently.
That's right.
Where can the people find you out there?
You can find me at Hermit Wizard on Theme Park Wizard on Twitter. You can find me at themeparkwizard.com for some cool articles. And you can find me at Theme Park Wizard on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. That's right. I'm posting a lot of Facebook stuff too. A lot of untapped audience over there. And
Fantastic. Fantastic. You can see that Permit Wizard link there in the chat right now. It's also going to be found in the description going forward on our video, so you can always find Theme Park Wizard very, very easily utilizing those resources that we provide you. Wizard, I want to go ahead and thank you for joining us for this amazing program right here. I know we didn't have much time with you yesterday, but you sure, in fact, made up for it and then some. So thank you so much from me to you. But we've got to get going over there to the M4 Empire.
Before we go,
please,
I think we have one more. Did we miss a super chat?
Oh, did we?
From O2RR.
Oh, yes. O2RR.
There we go.
O2RR. You are right.
Thank you.
We need to get that. Thank you so much for letting me know, by the way, because I thought we'd gone everything, but we did not. I do apologize. O2RR coming in here with the Celestial Park is now the new Lost Continent. It certainly feels like that, right, Wizard? Especially without Lost Continent being there. There's not a lot of original fare to be had at Universal Parks right now, right?
Lost Continent walked so Celestial Park could run.
Oh, that's fantastic. O2RR, thank you so much for that. Hail to the 199, power to the 199. Thank you so much for that. Very much appreciate that. Also, too, Freedom Seeker coming in here. Fantasmic 1.0 soundtrack will always be the best. Fantasmic. Yes. I do agree with that. Much better than Fantasmic 2.0, in my opinion, but that's just me. Although I do like the franchises featured in Fantasmic 2.0. Avarice Carmageddon here. I want another fire-breathing dragon as long as it doesn't burn down again. We are all hopeful for that, for sure. Let's see. O2RR, Nicole Williams right here. Reaching out to her, follow up to my super chat. That's what makes Epic Universe unique and different from Universal Studios Orlando, is that it has Celestial Park. So pretty cool. Cannot wait. That is going to be fantastic. Wizard, again, thank you so much for coming on the program right here.
And thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I do think that just about concludes everything regarding the Vash Sky ParkCast. We'll be back next week. Should be same bat channel, same bat time associated with the theme park and show. I do believe Jared's going to be back from vacation right there, so I don't anticipate any problems. You can find us at evenings on Tuesday right there. I believe 5:30 p.m. Eastern. I do believe, or sorry, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time right there. Also, too, we are after that Park Place on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and of course, the show you're watching right now at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Cool. Thank you. Fantastic. Awesome stuff. Let's go out to the M4 Empire. Remember, folks, the sky is the limit.